everyone, my name's Jen. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about everything money, business and investing. Today I'm going to run through how much money we've made in the last 4 years running an Airbnb in New Zealand. So we bought the Airbnb property back in 2021, just before the country locked down because of COVID. In that year we made sales totaling $51,000. In 2022, which is when the COVID lockdowns really took hold, we made 42,000 New Zealand dollars in sales. Then in 2023, the country was booming post-COVID. Interest rates were low, so people had more money to spend on holidays. We made 57,000 New Zealand dollars in sales revenue. 2024, the country was slowing down, interest rates got higher. People weren't travelling as much because they didn't have as much money. We made 47,000 New Zealand dollars in sales revenue. We're now in the 2025 financial year, but we haven't yet hit our peak season. We're just going into summer now, and I've got every single night pretty much booked out from just before Christmas until mid-February. So it's looking like it's going to be a better year this year, but until we get to the end of the 2025 financial year, I really can't be sure. In terms of our costs for 2021, we had a lot of costs setting up the property as an Airbnb. We spent 13,700 New Zealand dollars to set the house up as an Airbnb, to buy the beds, the couch, the furniture, get all the bedding. So in our first year, we made $5,832 profit. In 2022, our sales were almost 10,000 New Zealand dollars lower because COVID lockdown was really biting, but we still managed to make 6,500 New Zealand dollars profit because we didn't have the initial setup costs that we had in the first year. In 2023, our sales shot up by over $10,000 to 57,000 New Zealand dollars. And interest rates were low, so our costs were low. We made almost 24,000 New Zealand dollars profit from the Airbnb in 2023. Fast forward to 2024, the recession has hit. People are struggling for money big time. The cost of food, the cost of living is so high, so people don't have as much money to go on holiday. So our sales have been really impacted. In the year to the end of June 2024, we made 47,000 New Zealand dollars in sales revenue. Our costs have increased. The mortgage interest we've paid has increased to 15,000 New Zealand dollars compared to the first year that we did Airbnb, and mortgage was only 13,000 New Zealand dollars. It actually dipped lower in 2022. Our mortgage interest was only just over 10,000 New Zealand dollars. So interest has gone up 5,000 New Zealand dollars in only 2 years. In 2024, we made a profit of just over 10,000 New Zealand dollars. I might insert some clips here just showing you our revenue over the last few years, so you can see how much it's fluctuated. In the first year, we started advertising on Airbnb, Book-a-Batch and Booking.com, and we got almost 52,000 New Zealand dollars in sales revenue. In the second year, I took us off Booking.com because I was concerned about the type of guests that we got from Booking.com. A lot of the trouble that any trouble that we had with guests, they all seem to have booked via Booking.com, and I think it was because the description that you can write on the Booking.com website isn't that detailed, it isn't that good. We had a few people that brought their dogs and then claimed that they didn't realise that we don't accept dogs, and I think because it maybe wasn't prominent enough on the Booking.com website, whereas with Airbnb and Book-a-Batch, you can write a really personalised description and put your rules there, you know, that you don't accept dogs. So we found that guests coming from Airbnb and Book-a-Batch know what to expect more than people from Booking.com. We also found that with Booking.com guests, they'd just stay for a a shorter period, whereas with Airbnb and Book a Batch, people normally stay for at least 5 nights. We found the costs of running an Airbnb have increased so much in the last year as the cost of living has gone up. So our insurance, we have added business interruption insurance to our insurance package. So I guess that has increased it a little bit, but also just the general cost of insurance has gone up as well. In the previous 3 years, we've spent 2,400 New Zealand dollars on our insurance, but in the year to June 2024, that went up to 3,400 New Zealand dollars on insurance. Our rates have gone up. The hourly rate we pay to our cleaner has gone up quite a bit. I think it started at about $40 an hour and we're now paying $45 an hour. So just as an example, in 2023, we had $57,000 worth of revenue and our cleaning fees were $3,900. In 2024, we had $47,000 worth of revenue, which is $10,000 less, which tells me that we had fewer people staying, and our cleaning fees were still 3,900 New Zealand dollars. I'm hopeful that 2025 is going to be a better year because the amount of bookings I've got has increased. Our costs have stopped increasing, which is good, and the mortgage interest that we're paying is going to go down a little bit, hopefully in April when the mortgage comes off its fixed rate term. So in the years since we've owned the Airbnb, you can see that our profit has fluctuated quite a bit due to various factors. We started off with a profit of almost 6,000 in 2021, 2022 it was just over 6.5, 2023 it really peaked at almost 24,000 New Zealand dollars. 2024 we've hit a recession, so it's gone back down to 10,000 New Zealand dollars, and I'm hoping that 2025 is going to be slightly more. When we were first looking at purchasing properties, we did look at whether we were going to do a long-term residential rental or an Airbnb, and the location that the property is in, hands down, an Airbnb is far better. The house is in a beachside community where there are lots of holiday houses already, and the amount of rent that we'd get as a long-term residential would only be about 450 New Zealand dollars a week, which is around 25,000 New Zealand dollars a year. We would have less expenses if we ran it as a long-term residential, but actually the biggest expenses are the rates, the insurance and the mortgage interest, which you pay anyway as a long-term residential landlord. We would only save on like the Airbnb setup costs, the commission and the cleaners. So we've actually got double the amount of sales revenue versus if we ran it as a long-term residential, and the difference in the expense side of things isn't that significant. Overall, we're glad that we've got this Airbnb investment, so I encourage other people, when you're looking at investing in property, to consider whether it is better to run it as a long-term residential because you will get a high occupancy rate, it tends to be more guaranteed income, or whether it would be better running it as a short-term Airbnb. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope that was helpful, and I will see you in my next video.